Go ahead.
Chitoka. Kwanini.
Welcome to the Safe Lounge.
Welcome, guys. Welcome to yet another episode of the Safe Lounge, where we talk about wellness, mental health, and overall health. We want to foster happiness in homes, in friendships, and in relationships. Over to you, Caroline.
Oh my God.
I think we need to come up with an official intro. Otherwise, I'm going to be winging it every week, week after week.
No, but you did well. That was so good, though. That was so good.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm impressed. I like it.
Thank you.
You can go ahead with it. Are you done with your introduction?
I said over to you.
I was too overwhelmed. Okay, welcome, guys. My name is Caroline, and I'm with
Marilyn.
Okay.
Marilyn Nyasha. Well, it's Nyasha Marilyn.
Okay. Nyasha Marilyn. What are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about conflict resolution. That's why I am in such a good mood. Nothing can get me into that mood that I am when I'm trying to resolve conflict. But anyway,
I'm a bit worried. Who gets excited like that about conflict resolution?
it's the elephant in the room. It's the elephant in each and every room.
Do you like conflict or you like the resolution of it?
I like conflict. Like, who likes conflict? Come on.
No, there's some people who just like, poking others.
Yeah.
So are you that one?
No, definitely no.
You like peace?
Yeah, because I'm scared of confrontations anyway. So I don't think I'm that good when it comes to conflict resolution. That's why I'm excited, because I'm going to be learning a lot.
You and me both. So yeah, we're talking today about how to resolve conflict
As couples.
in particular.
Yeah.
So, Nyasha, how do you know when you're angry? How do you know that now I'm angry?
I shut down. So when I'm angry, right, I just go mute. Like, I just go quiet. Like, I process my anger. So I can feel it as it's coming. And the moment it's there.
Okay, what do you feel?
Like, I feel like I'm gaining strength. I know you get it, right? Like,
Yeah,
what I'm
I
trying
get
to say.
it.
Like,
I
I feel like
absolutely do.
I'm becoming stronger, and then I'm like, okay. Once I get there, I'm like, okay, now I'm angry. I shut down.
Have you ever been? What's the angriest that you've ever been?
Oh no. So what? But this doesn't have to do. It wasn't like a conflict that was going to be resolved. So there was no conflict resolution afterwards.
Okay.
But this one time when I was still a kid, we were going to church midweek prayer meeting. I just had to clarify that because then now you understand that we are all human. So as we were going, we were talking, right? My mom was still at work. So it was me and our maid, and we were walking, going to church. And it so happened that this guy who had a bicycle passed us. But then, like, he came directly into us, and we're like, one, you're riding a bicycle and you're moving so fast. So I think she then said something that triggered this guy, like, who does that? Like, who in their normal senses does something like that?
Right.
And then this guy is like, what did you say? And then he picks up a stone
Yo.
and he throws it at me.
Okay.
the moment it landed on me, like that level of anger, right, that I was talking about, like, I feel like I've just gained strength. Like, I'm just
Yeah.
strong. You know what I did?
Uh-huh.
I picked up the same stone.
How old were you? Context.
How old was I? Maybe around 12, 13.
Okay.
Thereabout. I picked up the same stone.
Mm-hmm.
I started chasing that guy. So, mind you, he had a bicycle and I was running after him.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what overtook me. Like, honestly, it was crazy. So we had like the security guard that would be moving around, right, in our neighborhood. I started calling him. I was like, God. I chased that guy. And like, I met some people that stayed like close to our house. And this guy particularly tried to stop me. I was like, no, I need to catch him. And throw the stone. And he was gone, like gone. And then
Because obviously he's on a bicycle and you're running.
and I'm running after him. And then my mom now, that's when I knew, like, okay, I needed to get things under control, because she then came from work. Like I say, she was still at work. So then she then comes and then she meets me. Like, I pass through the road, like I ran past, crossing the road. This guy is then like telling my mom that she's very angry. She's trying to chase this guy and throw the stone that the guy threw. And then my mom is like, leave her. This guy was confused, but my mom was like, leave her, because when she's angry and you try and contain her, it gets out of hand. So leave her. But yeah, that was a turning point for me. I think it meant something. Afterwards, I went to the hospital. I had to go to the hospital. I had a plaster on my hand.
It was that bad?
It was that bad.
Oh my.
But I didn't even feel the pain. That's why I was like, I feel strength coming into me when I'm angry. But now, how I regulate, when that happens, I then just shut down. Like, I don't have that fight or flee thing that comes. I don't know, what is it? Do you have a freeze thing that can also pop in?
Yeah.
When you're angry? Yeah. I think that's what happens to me when I'm angry now.
Interesting.
I wish we diverted though. But anyway.
No, it's not diversion, because we're talking about conflict resolution, right?
Yeah.
And usually during conflict, there are times when we get angry.
Yeah.
And so that's what it is. At times you get angry when you're having conflict, and what happens, exactly what you're describing, that this is the psychology tidbit. That your body, there's a structure in your brain. What do they call it?
The
amygdala. The Amy. Okay. So this part is responsible for your emotions. Okay. Right. Uh-huh. So it's the part that's going to release that's going to regulate your emotions when you're angry.
Okay.
And it will enable your body to release hormones like cortisol and adrenaline when you're angry. Mm-hmm. So it sets your body into fight or flight. Hence, then, the surge of energy that you're saying you experience when you're angry.
I want to fight.
Yeah, because your body is either getting rid. It's responsible for detecting danger, right? So when you're in danger, you're either going to. It assesses the situation, but as it is assessing, your body is either getting ready to either fight or to flight.
Wow.
Right.
So I'm a fighter.
Let's say you used to be a fighter, and then now...
No, I just freeze. Like, it's like... Huh. And then,
you don't fight anymore?
No, I stopped fighting. Yeah.
So anyway, the other interesting bit about this was that, so we spoke about your hormones, right? That your cortisol levels, it's like your body goes through stress, your cortisol levels shoot up. Mm-hmm. But I think the part that I'm enjoying doing this because I get to refresh and relearn some things, right? So this part is like the basic system that controls your emotions. And then we have the frontal cortex that is responsible for executive brain functioning, for making decisions that take longer, right? But when this fight or flight mode is activated, it takes over. So your prefrontal cortex is kind of put on pause. So your decision making is...
Have I ever told you about this? Have I ever told you about this story before? The one that I just told you about chasing someone.
Yeah, you have.
So you tricked me.
No, but I wasn't even
use me as an example.
No. But when I asked that, I wasn't even thinking of that. I wasn't. But I can say an example of when I got really, really angry. So it was a situation where we were in a house, right, with a group of friends, right? And then we had this other friend of ours who was a guy, and his girlfriend calls him up, right? And they're talking. And then he says, particularly to me, keep quiet. I was like, yo. But it wasn't just that. I think it was an accumulation of events. And so when he did that, it was like something spiked in me. I am small. Like, I'm a small person.
Yeah.
But the way I wrestled with that guy.
The funny part is knowing the guy is... It's the fact that you were trying to wrestle him, but anyway.
The energy that I had. I am yeah. So
yeah, okay.
That explains
it does
the surge of energy that you have.
The surge of energy, and how you just like you're not yourself anymore. It's like you're not thinking straight. Like you're not in your normal. Okay, all right, okay, I get that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
That is the physiological response of your brain to when something triggers you. And, you're reacting to something that has upset you, or even when you're having a conversation and it ends up being a conflict and you get angry, this is what is happening in your body.
All right, okay.
Makes sense. So taking this back to the context of couples, right, there are certain situations or topics that people generally fight over.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, what are we're not going to get into detail with these. We're just going to pass through them.
Yeah. On top of the list for me would be finances, issues regarding finances, budgeting, how you're going to handle your finances, especially if you are two very different people when it comes to how you handle your finances. Like, for example, me being an accountant, if I get married to a person who is in marketing, there is potentially going to be a very huge conflict of interest, because they're used to spending to get. But then we're used to budgeting and minimizing cost in order to accumulate more. So definitely that could potentially be a huge conflict.
Yeah, and another thing would be things that have to do with trust is violated. Things like cheating, or you feel somebody is not being accountable with what they're doing. Those are major.
But for me now, like, when it comes to things, conflict like that, right? That's like next level conflict for couples.
I mean, of course, I think there are levels, right, to this thing. You are going
because
to have
how are you going to resolve the conflict if the trust has been broken? Because I would think that like the conflict resolution would come if the trust is still there, but you just conflicted. But now, if the trust has been broken, like someone has cheated, I
think it's just different levels of this. Like you were saying, the money thing, right? It's like you guys set a goal. This is what we want to achieve. And then somebody, maybe the way that they cope with stress is, they like spending. And so they use that same amount of money.
They're going to that.
Go.
They're going to get to that point where that's why I said it's next level conflict, because now not only are you conflicted in someone's spending habits, but they've also broken that trust.
You don't trust them when it comes to money. Yeah.
So it will be even more. I'm not saying it cannot be resolved, but then it's way more difficult to resolve such conflict.
Yeah.
Different parenting styles.
Yeah, I guess when you don't agree on how to handle a certain situation with your children.
And also considering that as couples, right, you're coming from different backgrounds already. So unless you have similar backgrounds, conflict is inevitable. Because it's like you want your child to be raised the same way you were raised, because you turned out okay.
Yeah,
and your partner also wants their child to be raised.
And there's no right or wrong.
There's no right or wrong, because you both turned out okay. That's why you liked each other in the first place. But that's definitely.
That's an issue. Okay. Another one. Hey. Okay. There's one that we spoke about recently. Long-term life goals and career. So, for example, you then decide that you want your career to take this direction, and the other person wants their career to go that direction, and you can't find
common ground.
Yeah, or this one thinks they're right, this one thinks they're right, and nobody wants to give. That's a cause for conflict.
It definitely is. That's like a huge conflict area, right? And it takes a lot. It's one of those next level ones. Like, they're not just the basic conflicts.
It's not basic, no.
Because that one is huge. And as I was saying earlier on, that, for example, this one, right, it could also come from different life goals, in the sense that if I'm an accountant and I get married to a social media influencer, they have more time. They have, they can do as they please with their time. And conflict is going to come from the fact that I will feel like they're not supporting me enough, because since I'm working longer hours, they should be there for me more, and they should understand me more. Whereas they could potentially feel like
you're not putting enough.
I'm not making enough effort, or I'm not prioritizing family or things like that. So it's definitely.
Another one.
In-laws and family boundaries.
Yeah, man. Yo. Yeah, I think because what it is, right, is when you're single, you have a way of dealing with your people and your family and how you resolve issues in you. And so when another person comes, it takes some adjustment.
It does.
To, accommodate the person and to realize that things have changed. We now have to do things a bit differently. You want this person to come in and fit, and, with that friction where they cannot fit, we have to adjust that one. That is.
And you're coming into someone's life, right? Like at the earliest, maybe in like when you start having conflicts like this, because I'm sure if you are dating someone in your teens, you're not gonna fight about this. I would think so.
Yeah.
But then let's say you're now in your 20s, 30s, you're now talking marriage or serious relationships, right? And what could also potentially raise conflict is because I love my partner, right?
Yeah.
There could be a way that their family or his family treats him, or what can I say, like areas where they take him for granted, or I will feel like they're taking him for granted. Whereas for him, he's used to it. He was raised like that. And yeah, that's why boundaries will need to be set, because at some point in time, once you're together, right, you will also need to set boundaries, even with me, that,
Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
when it comes to my family, I don't think you should really get too much involved when it comes to things like this, because I've been dealing with this. I know how to handle it.
And it's a system that is already existing.
Exactly.
That has existed for many, many years. I mean, like you get married, let's say the person is 30 years old.
Imagine.
It's a system that has existed for 30 years.
For 30 years.
And it is in family systems, they say the system is self-regulating. It regulates itself. It keeps putting itself back.
Yeah.
So now when you come in, it
and you're
has
trying
after 30 years. Yeah.
Definitely conflict is gonna be there. So yeah, that's one of the major ones.
Yeah.
And
communication styles. I think that this one is huge, and we're going to talk about this separately.
Yeah, and it weighs heavily on me, because I feel like communication, right, is the key when it comes to conflict resolution.
You know what I think? I think we do not put enough importance on communication.
Yes.
Like, it should be a thing that is, I personally feel, it should be a thing that people are taught from grade 1. Because it impacts every other thing that you do.
Every other thing. And especially when you're starting to date someone, or when you're courting someone, I think during that phase, if the communication is not good, I'd leave.
Hey.
No, because, like, honestly.
No, but can people not be taught to communicate well?
I feel like communication is one of those things that your system now, like your system as a person, is already adjusted to how you communicate. Like, you can try and I don't know. Like,
do you think the way that you communicate now was the same way that you used to communicate 6 years ago?
Partly yes, but because of maturing, it's not everything that I'm blurting out, right? Like I was talking about the Twitter thing. I still think some of those things, but I'm just not posting it on social media. But then the fact that it's still in my head, it's still there. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I think in the beginning phase, like when you're starting to be with someone, you have to have like a way of communicating where you get each other. Because if you're not getting each other, in as much as we say that people are going to learn, people are going to change, there's only so much change that could happen.
Right.
So yeah, I agree that communication could be jealousy and control issues. That goes without saying,
yeah.
It's like, why are you even making me jealous? I know you're not expecting me to take that angle, but why are you even making me jealous? Let's start there.
Well, I mean,
that's how the conflict starts, right? Because
then there are some people who are prone to just being jealous.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
so it could be that the person really isn't doing anything, and then like the other person is just prone to feeling they're insecure, and so they tend to feel jealous a lot. And then there's some people who do not help the situation, who
not
go
at
ahead
all.
and continue with that behavior, or even worse, make it continue, and
And also, people with control issues in general tend to be a lot more jealous than people who are less controlling. Yes, because I think that if you have control issues, right?
Yeah.
The moment you feel like you're losing control, even if you're not necessarily losing control, or the moment your partner seems like they're enjoying or having fun somewhere else where you don't have control over, you're bound to feel some type of way. Yeah. So yeah. Cultural or religious differences. Oh my word. There's this guys, do not be unequally yoked. I know, I think I've said this now a couple of times, but don't.
I mean, I don't understand though. I know there are people who do it, who like a person gets married to somebody who believes in a completely different thing. I really don't get how.
You know what
they
I
do
think?
that.
I think those people would have been brought up in that religion, but they don't necessarily believe it. They're not religious at that point. Because, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but then I think if you're really religious and you are a Christian, and then you get married to someone who is into ATR,
Who is a Buddhist?
oh yeah, things like that. Like,
I had a friend though. I remember visiting a house. There was a part of the house that had the Bible and Christian books. And then the other part of the shelf had, different gods. Because the guy, was from a different religion.
Are they really religious, or like they were brought up? You get my point.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
they
yeah,
just
for sure.
come from that background, but then they're not really that religious. Because if you're a Christian and you're religious and you really strongly believe, definitely you're going to be ministering to that person. You're going you're going to be trying every day to win that soul, and there's potentially going to be a conflict there.
But remember, we were discussing the other time about how this gets tricky. Say, for example, you get married and you believe in the same things. Later on, the person changes and says, I don't think I still want to believe in this anymore.
Well, I don't advocate for divorce, but then I don't know.
That becomes very, very difficult. Because,
Plus, I think that's cheating. No,
Hey.
like it's
okay.
no, it is cheating. It's like what we were also talking about that same day. We were also talking about like someone who says that they want kids, and then once they're married, they realize that they don't want kids. That's cheating.
No, but a person should have the liberty to be able to change that.
But then you have cheated or you have betrayed that person's trust because they got into the marriage thinking that we're going to have kids. So you should be okay with the consequences then. Because they got into their marriage thinking that we are Christians, and then you wake up and you're like, no, we're not doing that anymore.
Because people change. The only constant is change. So
people
they can
change
and veer off to the other direction.
But
I guess this is why we are talking about conflict resolution.
Yes, because if you're going to break your partner's trust, it's broken, it's done. We cannot even resolve that conflict because it's not even a conflict anymore. It's now, I don't know.
Hey, it's a different belief system altogether.
What else would there be that we haven't talked about? Okay, intimacy issues. I
think that's a major issue.
It is.
That's a real major issue that people don't really delve into. And I think most of it has to do with in our not
culture.
Just in our culture or society. People don't really talk about intimacy issues.
No, they
don't.
don't.
There are things that you find out once you're married, and sometimes you don't know who to speak to. You're not as free to discuss it. Sometimes it could just be a thing that you just need help. Somebody can guide you on it, but you don't know where to go for it. And so you end up conflicting.
That's the thing. Because people don't talk about it, it's bound to result in conflict because you don't have another voice of reason. I don't know if it makes sense. Like, you feel a certain way, your partner feels a certain way, and
Sometimes you're not even able to voice it out.
And that's the worst
And that
conflict,
builds
right?
up.
Because it's building up and you're conflicted in your head.
And it comes out sideways.
It creates tension. So
Yeah.
it's just going to pop up in some of the things. And you're like, where is this coming from? But it's coming from that. So yeah, those are some of the areas, but not the only areas where conflict could potentially arise. So now, how? Because now people are like, yeah, of course, yes, we have conflicts, but
Yeah.
how do you resolve conflict
In
in a practical way?
I was listening to somebody, I don't know, one of the reels, and this couple said, I found it weird, but it never left my brain. They said, when it gets very, very heated, we lie down on the ground. They're like, we both lie down on the ground, and it's very difficult for you to continue to be angry when you're like that.
But why are you lying down on the ground? Like, what's... But I get it. It's like to get distracted, right?
Yeah.
I guess it's to come back also. Like you said, when you're angry, you like kind of lose who you are. So I guess it helps. Like when you do something like that, like lying on the ground, because there's no way you're going to decide like, let's lie on the ground and then stand up and continue bickering.
Have you ever realized when you're shouting, the tendency is you want to elevate yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You either want to stand up, you want to shout, you want to point your fingers. It's like you're trying to lift yourself above the person.
Yeah.
The moment you both lie down, you're like, okay. I found it weird, but they said it works for them.
Yeah. And of course the usual listening. I was saying that, like, what I found, the whole parrot thing, like playing the parrot game.
Okay, explain that.
I already know how you feel about it, but anyway. So playing the parrot game would be, but it's the same as lying on the ground. Anyway, it's like when you're communicating and you're trying to make the other person feel like you understand them.
Okay.
Repeat what they're saying.
That would piss me off.
But that would de-escalate the situation, because imagine, like, let's role play here.
I don't know. I don't know about role playing.
You'll be angry. You know what? I want to see if you're angry about something.
Yeah.
Why didn't I do the dishes, for example?
Why didn't you do the dishes?
Why didn't I do the dishes?
Role playing why you didn't do the dishes.
Why didn't do the dishes, and now you're angry? Because it was my turn to do the dishes.
No, Nyasha, but why didn't you do the dishes? You were here the whole day. You had time to do it. I saw you going up and down in the kitchen, from the kitchen, and you still didn't do the dishes.
I understand that I was here all day.
But you still didn't do the dishes.
I should have done the dishes. I was just going up and down. Are you going to be irritated?
I would be irritated.
Why? It shows that. But then doesn't that give you like a form of like, I'm getting your frustration?
No. I think the way you're saying it, I would understand. Like, but you know, when you say parrot, for me, a parrot just repeats exactly what you're saying. So, for example, I would say, but why didn't you do the dishes? And then the person goes, but why didn't you do the dishes? I'll be like, yo, excuse me,
I mean like repeating what that person said to show them that
you understand.
Like, I got what you're saying. I get where you're coming from.
Then that's different. But a parrot, I mean, you need to explain these terms, ma'am, because...
Well, it's called the parrot game. It helps. It's one of the tools that you can use to resolve conflicts.
Okay. I understand. If it's like that, then I get it.
Okay.
One of the tools that people could also use is give yourself space, right? When you feel that you are escalating and it's getting beyond control and you could possibly say things that are mean Because once you say it, you can't take it back. It has already landed. When you feel yourself getting to that point, or when you feel that thing growing in you and you want to, take some time. Like, distance yourself.
Someone said, stop before you say something that makes bad TV. I'm like...
But I don't know, though, like, if you're really, really angry, if you can switch to get yourself to
I
things
guess
like that.
you have to communicate what you would do in such situations before getting into the situation. Like you said, this couple already established that we lie down on the floor when things are getting escalated. So yes, you can see that, okay, I'm going there, I'm getting there. I think I need to, like, maybe lie on the floor or count from 10 to 0.
Or you can say, I think we can resume this
once
we both have settled down. Because I
feel some type of way about that, though. Like, if we're in conflict and if we're going at each other, and then you say, I think, because how I interpret that, especially in the moment, right? It's like you're trying to shush me.
I think no. Because
that's why I'm like, you need to have something else that's outside of, like, telling someone that I think this is getting out of hand. Because again,
how about
when someone says I think this is getting out of hand, it's like they're saying you don't have control over your emotions.
No, but you're assuming. What if it's me who now feels that where I'm going, I could hurt you? I could throw some hands, or I could say some words.
No, lie on the floor.
Yeah, nice.
Lie on the floor.
I say,
count
because
from 10 to 0. Like, find something that doesn't involve you escalating the situation while trying to de-escalate it. Because if you say, I think things are getting out of hand, like, I am telling you this. Imagine you're angry people, and then someone says, I think I need a minute.
I am like that.
No, don't do that. You're triggering me.
No.
You need
to understand
like me.
that they're different. People deal with conflict in different ways.
That's true.
And people have a different way of processing things, right? With some people, they need time to go and process, and then they can come back and have a conversation. You, on the other hand, you want to have it there and then.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a matter
once we have said, let's talk. That's what I'm saying. Like,
no, but when it gets too heated and I need some time, you should be able to afford a person that time. They're not going away for 2 weeks.
I can afford you that time.
Yeah.
But how I can afford you that time is if you do something like lying on the floor. I would respect that, okay, you felt like your emotions were getting out of hand, so you decided to lie on the floor, or you decided to start counting.
What if the thing that calms me down is taking a walk?
But imagine, like, for me, I don't know, maybe it's my communication style. Like you say, that communication could potentially lead to conflict, right? Because for me, you taking a walk when I have something that's really bothering me, that's like there, like, I am feeling it right now, like it's there in my chest, and then you're just like, I need some air. Like, for me, I would feel like you're not listening. Like, I would feel unheard.
But at this point, what it is remember we said, whilst you are going through your fight or flight response, this person could potentially also be going through that, right?
And so they have a flight response and I have a fight response.
Maybe they have a fight response, but in order not to fight you physically or even with their words, they're like, where I am going now, this could potentially be dangerous. But what I can do is I can go away, take a walk around the block, calm down, collect my thoughts, because at this point, remember, you are not able to process another point of view.
Yeah.
You are thinking what you're thinking is the right way and it's safe.
You know what?
For you.
I actually agree with you. And I think that if that was my way of handling conflict, like being able to allow someone to take some time out and then come back. I think maybe some of the situations or some of the altercations that I've been in wouldn't have gotten to that extent if it was my communication style. But unfortunately, it's not. Like,
then we have to give each other grace. That's
why I said, if you notice that your communication style is not in sync in the beginning.
But the thing, though, that happens in the beginning is people present versions of themselves. Like, oh no. Okay, there's that one, right? That people present a certain representative of themselves to somebody that they like. Yeah. Either consciously or subconsciously, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's also the part that certain people just bring out a version of you that you didn't know existed. So,
do you mean that in a good way or in a bad way?
I mean both.
Okay.
I mean both. Because what happens is this. Remember, there's a time, I don't know if it's on the podcast, that we said when you feel safe, all of you comes out. Now, all of you includes both the bad and the good. Your inner child feels it's safe for me to come out and play. But also your inner child doesn't have adult responses to things. And so you're going to respond because you feel safe expressing who you are.
That's true. That's true.
That inner Caroline, the inner child who's not healed, is going to come out and be triggered by things.
You know how
because you're in a safe environment.
You know how I wish I had this information like 15 years ago? No, it's okay. It's just your inner child coming out because you actually feel safe around this person. Maybe things wouldn't have gotten that escalated.
It's possible. Yeah. It's possible because now then you're self-aware. And even that helps when you're talking to somebody that you know the way that they are responding, that this is not how they usually respond. And probably what I've said or done has triggered it. Maybe I need to give them time to cool down so that once they're back, we can say,
okay,
do you need some time to process, or what can I do to make you feel better?
We're learning, and I am going to try that, but I can't promise. Like,
no, man, it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time, even for yourself to get into a place where you're like,
it's okay. Take your time. You can go for a walk and then come back, and we'll talk.
Now, like, even for you to sit, but like, have you ever responded to a certain situation, and then later on you're processing it, you're like, hey, but that was a bit too much, the way that I reacted.
Like, I should have been
why was I like that?
Yeah.
But then when you become more self-aware now, you're like, what could have caused this? You know, what triggered this?
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Express your feelings clearly. By this, I mean, use I instead of you. So it's not going to be like, you are arrogant. Or you have a wrong choice of words. It's supposed to be, I feel like you're arrogant. I'm kidding. I feel like
you're arrogant. Wow. A good way to use I.
Yeah. I feel like, because then but I think it's different, right? If I say you're arrogant and I say, I feel like you're arrogant.
No. That's known. Because at the end of the day,
I feel like you're rude and you're rude.
No, that's not the way to use the I statement. No.
Because I still want to get the point across, though.
Yes, that's what you want to put across. But what it comes off as is you're attacking me. Essentially, you're saying I'm rude.
But I'm saying I feel like. I'm not saying you are rude. I feel like you are rude.
You are saying that I'm rude.
No. Yeah. You are rude. That's wrong. Yeah, but I think, yeah, like you need to make it be about your feelings and what it's making you feel like. Like, I feel like what you said triggered me the wrong way instead of saying, I feel like you're rude.
Yeah, because feeling like you are rude is really not a feeling. How do you feel? That's the correct
I
way
know,
to
right?
use a statement. Like, I feel like you are rude. That's not
Or-
a feeling. That's a thought.
It's like saying, I want to tell you you're rude. You've still used I, but
I
like
don't
in the
want
wrong
this.
way.
I
Yeah.
don't like. You know how people would say, "I don't want this to rub you off the wrong way," or "I don't mean to be rude, but I feel like you come across as rude."
You've just said it. It's okay. It's all right. So yeah, using I and explaining the feeling, not using I and then still saying the same thing. Like,
So, for example, what would you say?
I feel like what you just said triggered me in a way that now I feel less confident, or I feel, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose the
belittled.
response to that, they would be totally complete
Different.
opposite responses.
I'm like, if I ask you why are you being rude, like what you just said,
then I
that's
become
rude.
defensive.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah.
my walls go up and I want to attack.
But then if it's a feeling, I don't think you can fight the way someone is feeling, and especially if they explain that feeling well,
Yeah.
you can't, because everyone is entitled to how they feel, right? What else?
But that takes some time, though.
It does.
That
Oh
takes-
yeah, definitely.
Because I think your immediate response, or this just happens, or hey, we need to. I let me speak for myself. I need to work on it. The immediate thing for me is saying, you're off. You're doing this. I don't like the way you're doing.
Yeah,
this.
because it is what it is. Like you just. But then it's really important. I think once you have mastered this and once you have learnt it, it's really helpful, because you want to tell them they're off. But what makes you think they're off? It's because they have made you feel a certain way. If you could just communicate what they have made you feel, it'll be easier, because it's not going to be triggering for the other person.
We were speaking about compliments at that time. So it's interesting. The other day, remember when we were together, and then somebody came, and I say to them, "You're late."
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And then that evening, I read somewhere that said instead of saying that, you can say something like,
I
really
felt like that was rude.
But they were late.
No, but you were like, you're late. Like,
And the person was like, "I know."
you see, that's the type of response you're gonna get, because at the end of the day, if you're telling someone that you're late, what do you want them to say?
Yeah, but then, okay, this is why I am confessing
Okay.
in front of everybody that this is what I did.
So what
And then
what
I
did it say you
learned.
should say?
Okay, that I really appreciated, when you come early, or I feel a certain type of way when when this happens.
Yeah,
And
because
the person was like, "Yeah, that is actually a better way of communicating."
it is, because I have been on the receiving end of you're late. Or you're delaying us. Like, I don't know. Like, it just makes you feel some type of way. It does. There's no way you're gonna respond nicely to that, even though you are the one who made a mistake. It's the delivery of it.
Right.
So
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Finding common ground.
I think that is really, at the end of the day, that is the end goal.
The
right?
common ground in this case is just like,
Sometimes it's compromise.
imagine during a heated conversation, you're like, but yeah, I love you. Like, I still love you. Or even with all this that's happening, I still think you're a kind person. So
Yeah,
I don't
think that kind of lowers temperatures, though.
Yeah.
But yeah. And even compromise.
the thing, dealing with compromise now.
I think we've hit a nerve. Guys, safe loud. We've hit a nerve.
Because you know what I think about compromise? Very often we say we have compromised, but we wouldn't have.
Okay,
Like,
explain that.
Okay, what is compromise to you? Is
It's
compromise
meeting
meeting?
halfway.
Thank you for using that. Because very often when we say that you have compromised, right? In my idea of compromise was it's meeting halfway. But people seldom meet halfway. Like, someone has to go 75%, and then the other one goes 25%, and then you say we reached a compromise. I don't know if it makes sense. Like, when it comes to couples and like relationship conflict, you know this. Like,
I mean, because
it's rare to meet halfway. Like,
life
for me,
is not clear cut like that, right? It's very easy to find situations where you're like, yeah, we are going 50-50. At some time, you're going to go 25%. At some time, it's going to be, okay, we are going to do it your way instead of mine.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, do you feel like the other person has heard you? Have they really processed what you're saying and what your suggestion is? And how do you feel about it? Are you really saying okay because you just want to get over it? Or do you feel like they have your best interest at heart? I think there's a difference there.
Yeah, it does. It makes a difference, I guess, when you feel like. So the compromise would then come from feeling like, okay, in as much as I'm going only 20, I'm getting 25% of what I wanted, and this person is getting 75%. I still feel like they understand and they get where I'm coming from or where I'm going with this. Okay, yeah.
And I think
Fair
sometimes,
enough.
I don't know, but do you feel like there are times where there's a power play and somebody wants to dominate over the other and,
Listen,
exercise authority?
especially
over
when
the
we're
other.
talking about couples, right?
Yeah.
That's a tricky one, because already we know that for most men, they interpret love as respect. So then this compromise that we're talking about, I don't know, like
submission.
exactly. That's why I say that for me, compromises, because then there's also submission, right? So what are you going to do? Because at the end of the day, he's still supposed to interpret love the way he understands it, which is the respect, and it's quite difficult to respectfully decline.
Especially when you think you're right and the
Exactly.
other person is wrong.
Yeah. Because they think they're right. They think this is the best direction the family should go. And how are you going to respectfully say no or respectfully disagree? So the compromise would be more of submission, really, and not compromise.
Okay,
Like,
we just do what you say.
yeah, we just do what you say. That's the compromise.
Do I feel heard though in the process, or you're just saying it just for the sake of getting over it?
That's
That
where
they
I
feel
think
respected.
that you mentioned it before, that the fact that your partner now will need to put an effort in making you feel heard. Even though we're not doing what you suggested, but it's not a bad idea. Because now if they're going to leave you feeling like you had a terrible idea, and on top of that, you're still going to do things their way, I think you haven't resolved any conflict, but you've actually created another conflict.
Yeah.
And it's going to, one day or the other, it's going to come up. Yeah.
What other way do people resolve conflict?
Okay.
There is do something silly, like when you have when you've come to the conclusion of a thing, congratulate each other. Like, celebrate your wins when you have actually gone
when you have
through conflict.
resolved the conflict.
Yeah,
Okay.
celebrate that as a win. Or do something simple as, just high-fiving, or, dance, do something, go out for a meal, or,
So like whenever. Okay, I think that's the problem,
it's
right?
like incentivizing
what we were talking
conflict
about, because
management.
right now my mind was going to, so whenever we need to have an agreement. I think I'm more of, in general, like that's why I was saying that even when it comes to things getting overheated, right? I want us to have a pre-agreed response to it. Same applies to this, because I was thinking like, so then we should have, like, we would then have an agreement, like whenever we resolve a conflict amicably, we go for ice cream. Yeah. So it's set in stone. We know that once this is all over, we're gonna go for ice cream if it works out. Yeah. If it doesn't work out, no ice cream. Like something like that. Yeah. I think that works. That's why I'm pro. If it's getting escalated, let's sleep on the floor, because it's not catching me by surprise. I'm walking out, but anyway, I don't want to bring us back to that.
And sometimes the other one is, sometimes when we are not, there are times when you really are not able to reach a solution.
Yeah.
And it's not bad,
so
as
no
a
ice
couple,
cream,
to ask for help.
Yeah. In general, like, guys, you know what? Like, recently, we had a discussion here, right? If I'm being honest, all my life, up until yesterday, all my years of living or of being in a relationship, right? I always felt like I was 100% to blame for that specific situation or that specific problem, right? But when you talk to other people, they give a different perspective. And it also helps you, even if you feel like, okay, you did something wrong, or you were wrong, or the way you handled things, or you escalated a situation, right? The fact that someone comes in with their point of view might actually realize maybe what triggered it.
Yeah.
Or that it was not entirely your fault. It was both parties were involved. So,
or even that it's normal. There is a tendency to think when you're going through something that nobody else has ever gone through this. You speak to other people and they're like,
this.
You know?
Oh, like that's how, like, specifically with this issue, right? It's the fact that when you go to someone, you talk to someone, we were all like, okay, that's how girls operate. Like, that's how girls function. Yeah. But because you're not including anyone, you don't understand the male perspective. If it's a female, and if it's a male, you don't understand the female perspective. But once you talk to someone, once you involve someone, you get a different view
and perspective.
Yeah.
What do you say? Because I've had this from many people I've spoken to, where it's usually the husband who says, well, from the people that I've heard or spoken to, the husband who says, I don't want people who come and tell me what to do in my house.
It's an ego thing. But then again, yeah, that's a tricky one. And honestly, this one I learned later on. It's not like something that I knew before I got into a relationship. Then I learned later on, and I'm grateful that, well, at least, we could be able then to start implementing it, right? But then I had somewhere, it was on another podcast, where they were talking about, why would you date a man who is not submitting to anyone else? You get it? Because the fact that someone does not have anyone that he goes to does not have a mentor, does not have, it's going to be a problem. It's definitely going to be a problem. You get it? Like,
and I think it's the way I've been processing life lately is, okay, this is your first time doing life, okay? This is your first time going through whatever experiences you're going through.
Yes.
This is your if it's your first time getting married, this is your first time getting married, okay?
Even if it's not your first time getting married, this is your first time getting married to that person. So, yeah.
And so it's very arrogant to think that my experiences alone are sufficient enough to take me through. Like,
exactly.
You know, I have now started saying we go through education to start doing certain things, but nobody educates us for marriage. And now that you're in it, it's kind of arrogant for you to say, I'll just do it the way I want to do it and not accept advice from anybody else.
Like, I'm good.
That's not very clever.
Like, how? Like, no one knows it all. So, yeah, definitely, I think seeking help, and at every step, like in the multitude of
counselors,
what happens? Prosper. Something. You succeed. Basically, long story short is the verse says that, I think we can put it, right?
Wait, no, we can look it up. We can look
in the multitude of counselors, you succeed. Well, that's my interpretation of it.
Basically, yeah. In the multitude of counselors.
Yeah.
Why isn't it coming up? Multitude of.
There
is safety.
There is safety, exactly. So, like, I don't even think you should have one person.
Yeah, because there are different people who are good in different things.
Exactly. So you should have, like, when it comes to your finance, how you handle finances in your relationship, you should have a go-to person. When it comes to how you handle your prayer life in your relationship, you should have a go-to person. When it comes to what food you eat in your
go-to person.
Go-to person. Yeah, but yeah, like I really believe in, and again, this coming from someone like me, right? You know, it's a very difficult thing, because for me now, I've always had a problem with authority. I think we'll address where that comes from in a different episode.
Yeah.
But then, like, I've always had a problem with people of higher authority. So older people in general, I find it more difficult to relate with older people than my peers.
I'm the same way.
So,
yeah.
But then still, regardless of how difficult it might be, I still think that it's wise to have people that you look up to.
Yeah.
There's this one.
There's a person who once said to me, and I thought it was very clever. A friend of mine said, I want to marry someone who has a teachable spirit. And I felt that is just priceless. Because you don't want somebody who thinks they know it all.
Yeah,
they cannot accept any other opinion. What they say is right. Essentially, you can never be a team with that person.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's deep. And I think it's really important. Avoid bringing up the past.
I'm like, for me, I'm the kind of person who you will do something. Sometimes I will let it slide. You will do it again, I might mention. But the third time, I'm going to say, you have a habit and you did it here and you did it here. Is that wrong, though?
That is very wrong. Let me tell you, like, how that could actually escalate something that was supposed to be just, I don't like how you spoke to me today. right? As opposed to saying that you have this has become a habit of yours. Last week Thursday, you spoke to me like this.
Because I might let it slide because maybe I think you've woken up on the wrong side of the bed. I don't want to make an issue out of it.
No. So
Because,
if you
I
don't
mean-
speak of it,
Yeah.
let it go. Don't then bring it up. Like,
But I don't want to be nagging.
yeah, then
But
don't
then
be
I
like,
will
then forever
say-
hold your peace. That's what I mean. Like,
If
then
it
don't
becomes
bring
a
it
habit,
up.
then it's a problem. But if
When
you,
you
do
bring
it
it up-
once and we let it go,
When you
that's
bring it up, I think if you're bringing it up because you've noticed that this has become a pattern now, right?
Yeah.
Just say that and don't go saying, on such and such a date, you did this. On such
Because
and such a
people
date,
have
you
it.
did.
People forget. People
They know.
people forget. People forget, and then they will tell you, "No, I've never done such a thing." I will be there to remind you. But what I feel though is, if we have spoken about it, right? If we've spoken about it, we have resolved this conflict.
Yeah.
Right. I cannot then hold that against you.
What about bringing up the past isn't too, right?
Right.
I think I've used this example before.
Okay.
Like during conflict with someone else, they then bring up a situation that happened during a conflict with another person.
Eh?
Like, okay, anyways, the safe lounge. So let's say during conflict with my partner now, right? They then bring up, it's because of your anger issues. That's why so-and-so dumped you. Or that's
No, we
why.
cannot do that.
I think that's what they mean by don't bring up the past.
Yeah, we cannot
Because
do that.
that's even worse now.
Yo, ouch, I felt it.
But it's the same. If you're willing to count the number of times they have messed up before, just because you want to bring a point, you could potentially go there. Just to make your point. Just to make your point.
No, that I think that the intention could be right? Maybe it's actually your interest.
It's actually a pattern.
You're thinking that, this is actually a pattern that is happening. But maybe that's not just the right context and the right time to say it during a conflict. And the way you say it also, man, like, hey, let's choose our
past,
times.
whether it's just like it happened 3 days ago, or it happened 2 years ago, or it happened in a previous relationship, don't bring up the past.
I would need some convincing, guys.
Yeah. And then take responsibility. I think this is really important.
Yeah.
When it comes to conflict resolution. This is something that that my partner is always complaining about. That he feels, I don't know where I have done wrong. But then I would know that
Do you acknowledge it to him? Though?
No. That's why I'm like, I feel like this point.
I think we have a pride issue.
No, but then it's like, you already know, like, I messed up. Like, I was late.
You know what it does?
Or like, let's say I overspent on something, right?
I am sorry.
I already know.
I am sorry I overspent.
No, sorry you're going to say.
Yeah.
But then taking responsibility, like,
Being accountable. You have to take accountability.
but that's what caused the conflict. If I wasn't taking accountability, this is what I'll be thinking, right? If I wasn't taking accountability, there would be no conflict.
What do you mean?
Like, there would be no issue if I wasn't taking accountability, if I wasn't open about my actions, if you didn't know that I did this, why would we be fighting? The fact that you know, you just want me to say it.
It doesn't matter, right? Does it take anything away from you?
It does, because you already feel bad. It's like
what-
beating someone when they are down because you already feel bad. I'm not saying that, like, okay, I'll take a step back. I say that I think this point is really important. But then now I'm trying to express how someone who thinks like me might feel like, or might have felt like before they had this podcast and they had this segment, and now they're going to take responsibility and openly communicate and say, I am sorry for doing so and so.
Imagine
or
someone.
I am sorry for the role that I played in this.
Yeah, imagine if he comes to you and say, I'm sorry, babe, I didn't really think how this would impact you, and this is the way I reacted. Doesn't that make you feel some type of way?
It does.
Right? It feels good. That's the same way.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I was just trying to make the partners of people like me that they also understand. Like, it feels like you're being beaten twice. Because it's like, I'm already down. I've already made a mistake. Like, why do you want me to repeat that? To say it out loud? I don't know if it makes sense. But then now I've realized, and yeah.
Okay.
I think it's really important. If you have made a mistake and you have resolved the conflict or you have reached a conclusion, when you're apologizing, we said we'll talk about ways of apologizing later on. But when you're apologizing, make sure that you admit guilt. Admission of guilt is important for conflict resolution.
As difficult as it is to say I messed up.
Yeah.
It is difficult, but it's important.
It's important. And is there anything else?
I think we've gone through quite a bit.
Yeah, and my take homes are definitely accepting that someone might need a break, might need to take a break for you to be able to resolve conflict amicably, and rewarding yourself after you have successfully resolved something.
And I think something that we didn't, as we wrap up, something that we didn't talk about is learning to self-regulate yourself during conflict. Like when you realize that I am over angry or I'm getting to that bit, learning to, sometimes it's just a matter of breathing. Just taking a moment to breathe and to regulate your emotions, so that, you know, when you speak, your words are palatable to the next person. So, yeah.
How I wish I absorbed such information when I was younger.
We're all learning.
Yeah.
And it doesn't improve just like that, but it's a learning.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that now that you know how to resolve conflict
tomorrow
you successfully resolve conflict.
But we will get there.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
Step by step, bit by bit. Guys, it's been nice.
Thank you for joining us.
See you next week.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Share with your loved ones. Ask them to subscribe. Tell them we need their subscription. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Later.